What's going on YouTube? Street Riders 209. Alright, so on this video I'm going to show you guys a quick little review of these two Auxbeam lights. The one on the left here, they're actually both a 4-inch. The only difference is that this one has the Phillips LED lights and this one has the Osram LED lights, or the chips. So let me start with this one here. This one here is, like I said, it's a 4-inch work light. This one uses 20 watts to power up. They're both spotlights. As you could tell, I don't know if you can get a good glimpse of that right there, but I believe that's what's called the 4D hypershot lens. One thing about these lights that I've noticed is that they all require, usually all of them require a very low power to be powered. This one I believe is between 10 and 30 volts, which is not much at all. This one here happens to be just like most of them actually, that you look at. Even some of the ones that I've installed, they'll tell you when you're purchasing them that they're waterproof, dustproof, quake-proof. But one thing I will tell you guys is that through my experience of opening these lights up, so I have that habit of opening everything up. One thing I've been finding out with these Auxbeam lights is that they're very, very well built. I've opened up some of the Chinese ones that, I'm pretty sure that most of these are made for Chinese parts, but I do know for a fact that the Phillips LED lights are out of the Netherlands, I believe. Well, anyways, one thing you will notice if you were to purchase this light is instantly the roughness of it. It looks extremely heavy duty. It's not cheap. It doesn't feel cheap. One other thing that I did notice too with these kits when I got them is that they come with a full set of little Allen wrenches. That's so you could dismantle the whole light. I will give you guys one tip. It might not work for everybody, but it might not be the same for everybody, but I would not recommend using the ones that they send, just because the material that they're made out of, it tends to strip real easy when you put it into a little screw head like that, and it's kind of tight. So if you have some at home that are all steel, the hardened steel, use your own instead. I did have that issue with this light while trying to open it up. I believe it was this little bolt right here. This little bolt, it stripped on me. You can kind of see it. Yeah, you can see it right there. And that was like the second to last screw before I got the whole light open. So I would recommend you use your own if you have them. Make sure that the fit is nice and tight, because if you try some of these on there at a point, you can kind of feel a little bit of play. If you feel a little bit of play on these lights, on that, see that right there? I honestly, I probably wouldn't try to put too much force, just because it's guaranteed to strip. So try your own set first. If it's a really snug fit, that's what you want. Because then it's going to be a pain in the butt trying to get these screws out. You got a brand new light, you're trying to use one of those, I have a set of those, what are they called? This is the Craftsman set that removes the stripped heads. And what it does is generally you're going to scratch some stuff up, so that's one thing I kind of recommend, is try to use your own tools at first. Not to bash on this stuff, but it's what it is. So these are supposed to be for anti-corrosion. They're not very heavy. They feel heavy, like I'm saying, compared to other lights, but in a way I feel like that's actually good, because you're getting a hefty product. These are supposedly rated roughly around 2000 lumens. And they bolt up to a 12-volt system all the way up to a 24-volt. And they have, as you could tell, it's only 4, and they're I believe they're the 5-watt chips. One thing I did notice, you guys are gonna, if you guys ever to purchase these, put that bolt in there. It is a bit of a pain in the butt. If you have no patience, you're gonna get really frustrated. Kind of wish they had designed it just with a little bit more thought in mind about how to get that in there. Just because you have to, I'll show you guys with this other light right here. But once you have them in, I mean, the bracket at first it feels kind of flimsy, but once it's bolted in place, it really, you don't really need anything else from it. You know, it's nice and heavy duty. I mean, once this bolts up, this is not going anywhere. I like how it looks from the side. It looks clean. I actually already have, I'm modifying some brackets for my Silverado that I'm gonna bolt these up right between the hood and the windshield, one on each side. You know, so I'm gonna see how that looks. Kind of like the cop cars tend to have their spotlights, but mine's are gonna be just a single position. They're not gonna be like you know, twistable or nothing like that. I mean, I can adjust them, but I kind of want to go for that look. I've seen that look on some of the Jeeps where they have that bracket on the pillar with the work light like that on the bottom, and then they have the bolt up for the light bar. So I'm gonna aim for something like that. That's gonna be one of my future videos. So yeah, I mean, this is a great look. I love the way that this light looks. I love the black inside there. Most of them have that chrome finish with the yellow chips. Alright, so let's put this one down for a second, and we're gonna move on to this one. This is also considered their 4-inch work light. It also has the black interior, just like the other one, which I think looks pretty sick compared to the chrome, like I mentioned. It says Osram on the side, but that's technically Auxbeam also. So they're working on changing all of their products only to Auxbeam. This one is also their 4-inch spotlight. This one, however, as you guys could clearly see, has 6 LED chips instead of 4 like the other one. This has 6 3-watt intense Osram LEDs. The working voltage of these is between 9 and 32 volts. So one thing I've always been curious about is I've been seeing this a lot lately on some of the better quality lights. I'm not 100% sure what that is, but if you guys can see, it clearly goes through to the inside of the light. So I'm just taking a gander here, but I'm guessing this is probably to help out with like condensation maybe, or you know, the actual light getting fogged up. I'm guessing maybe that somehow leads a little bit of air get inside there and keeps it clean. I have not, when I've purchased some of these lights, on the descriptions, I have not seen that it says anything about that. But I mean, just by seeing that, that's the only thing I could think of. This is also a really sturdy feeling light. You can just feel that they're heavy duty. You could see that on a lot of the products that I get, they don't take the I guess the craftsmanship of adding stuff like this. It kind of keeps everything sealed in properly. One thing that I have been noticing is that on a lot of the Chinese brands that are cheap, you can probably pick a pair of these up for like, you know, $20-$30, versus these that are a little more expensive, but they're totally worth it. But one thing I've been noticing is like a lot of the areas right here where they sealed in, you can see that on the Chinese ones, they don't take the time to get them perfect. You know, to me that just seems like when you're out in the off-roading or something, maybe you're mudding, maybe you're just doing some kind of you know, outdoor sports. With these lights out there, they're gonna get hurt a lot sooner. So these are very solid. I mean, you can kind of see always in every corner that it's properly sealed. You don't have any openings in the corners. I can show you guys a couple more lights of what I mean. A lot of people will say, oh, I can pick up a set of these lights on Amazon or on eBay for a lot cheaper. Well, yes, you probably can, but you're also going to be pissed off when they go out like in a couple of weeks, you know. One thing I did notice between this one and the other one is that the fins right here, this has a lot more recessed fins, and I mean you guys can clearly see that it's more of them. So I would assume this helps out a lot better with the cooling of the lights. So that's something I definitely like. Let me see. These right here, I believe, also have like a, I think it's like a 150-degree adjustable angle. And that's has to do with this here, how this is a slotted area, you can see, and you can slide this back and forth. So once you're bolted straight down, you could tip it, you know. Also, one thing I believe I noticed on the last one that I had, I flipped this bracket backwards if you want more of a facing forward installation, and that also works. And then you still have a little bit of angle on that too. Both of these are rated for 50,000 hours of lifetime, which is a lot, especially if wired properly. You're not going to have any issues with these things. One thing with Auxbeam is that I've been noticing that a lot of their product tends to be a little bit more expensive than others, but when you receive the actual pieces in the mail, you understand why, you know, and you don't feel any bad that you spent $20 more on that piece when you could have saved yourself that 20 bucks, because you can instantly feel the difference. All right, so just as a quick example, I brought out one of my Chinese lights, the ones that are actually cheap. I bought these, I think, for like 18 bucks for a pair. So what I was pointing at earlier, I'll show you guys real quick. This is one of the things I was pointing at earlier. Remember I mentioned this right here? Let me get focused in. There you go. That's one of the things I mean. See the difference? I mean, you can see little things like that instantly, and they kind of give you like a heads up of what's going on with the building of this light. This just feels empty. It feels dull. Alright, this one here, I've opened it up. I've seen how they sealed, or how they're sealed in. It's totally different than these. When you take these apart, I mean, you could tell that they're cheaply made. I mean, for 17 bucks, they have to be putting some really low quality products in there to be able to turn a profit, you know. I would definitely choose that light any day between this one and that one. One other thing that I haven't really been hearing people mentioning, but one other thing that I've noticed on these is the cabling. The Auxbeam lights, so far, all that I've received, come with like a solid copper, you know. This stuff right here, I don't even know what it is, to be honest with you. I mean, I've wired it up, you know, but it just looks flimsy. I would feel like that wouldn't direct the current just as good as something like this, you know. So, I mean, that's one of the things that shows you more of a good product. Now they're a little bit like that because I was messing with this light earlier, so I'm going to show you guys a little bit later. I was using one of my battery jumpers to power it. That way I don't have to actually wire it in. So we're going to move on to the actual nighttime light up, you know. So I'll show you guys the difference between both of those lights. Like I said, the Osram chips and the Phillips chips from the Netherlands. Alright, so I have here the other light that was still in the box. One thing I will tell you guys, when you guys order the Auxbeam lights, I have always noticed that they do really good on their shipping. They do all kinds of things to protect the lights on the inside of the box, versus other companies that I have seen that don't really. They just put some of this stuff on there, and that's it, you know. These guys at the shipping places, they don't really care what's in the box. They tumble these around all over the place. I've seen it happen when some of my lights come back all beat up. But they send these very, very secure, so you guys don't have to worry about the way that they do their shipping. So this is what comes in a little baggie. Your bracket. You got your Allen wrenches. Usually just separate my screws or my bolts from the nuts and the washers. So the big ones are obviously going to be for this piece. That's what's you're gonna use to bolt up onto your wherever you want these mounted, but these are the ones that you're going to be using. put the bracket inside here. Alright, so like I mentioned, it's going to be a bit of a pain in the butt, but I'm going to show you guys roughly how to get these in. Alright, so what you want to do is, because you'll notice, I don't know if you guys can see it here, but the way that the nut fits in the little area that locks it in place is the second little fin from the bottom. It's not in the bottom one, so and your bracket has to go on in between the bottom one and the second to bottom one. So one way I found it's easiest is to put the bracket like almost directly above that slot, just with a slight area where you can put the nut in there. Then you take your nut, you put it just like that, and you tip the light up like that. And then it's so basically now the bracket is holding the washer right where it kind of should be. You just gotta move it around till, see, there it slid into the little slot, the little groove. So now once that happens, try not to move the bracket. So then what you do is you take your bolt, pop it from underneath, and you can clearly see where the hole is on the bottom of the bracket. So just wiggle the bracket around until you find the hole, and very lightly turn until you got it. It takes a little bit of practice, but as you guys can see, it's in already. It took me literally, I mean, if I wasn't having to hold the camera, it would take me about 15-20 seconds, but I already got that one up there. But the first time I did on the other light, man, it was a nightmare. So I hope that helps you guys figuring out how to get this bracket put in. Then once that happens, then all you do is you just tighten up the bolt. Since the nut is technically locked in place, it tightens it up. Do the same thing for the other side. You can see it from this angle. I didn't think about doing it like that, but it's nice and tight, and it's ready. Oh yeah, one thing I forgot to mention to you guys. Make sure you always put this bolt in beforehand. It's a little bit easier. I mean, you can probably get it in right now, but it's easier to get it in beforehand and just kind of snug it up a little bit by hand. There you can get it in to the side. There it is. Then all we need is, girls, stop. Sorry, my dogs are making noise in the living room. They're getting all crazy. Alright, so yeah, once you have that in there, you just put your lock washer and your nut. Anyways, you guys get the point. Alright, and you're ready to bolt it up. Alright, so this is what comes in the little bag for this one here, for the Osram chip one. To put this together, what you will notice is how it already has two little nuts inside this little slot right here. So that's where these two little bolts go in. Let me move this over just to the center. Alright, well, that's not even close to the center, but right there you go. What you want to do first on this one is you want to put this bolt in first, always, because then once you bolt the bracket into the light, you will not have any space. I mean, it's impossible to get that bolt in. So you just slide it in like that. Just so to keep it in place, just put in your washer. Sorry guys, it's hard with one hand. And then just put the nut. Alright, so now that we have that in, it's very easy. You can determine whether you want your bracket like that or like that. It gets you two different angles. Hey! Sorry. So it gets you two different angles. The first one is what I'm going to do. Basically just take your screw, pop it in place. There's one. Second one, you put it in, tighten it up. That's your second one. So basically determine then where you want these. Once that's there, so you guys can see, you guys can adjust this up and down. And that's all that there is to it. The light's ready to be bolted up. So now let's move on to the night shot of this, and you can see how they work at night. Alright guys, so it's nighttime already. It's dark out. I'm in my front yard. I wish I could have gotten these out on the hills or something, but I gotta modify one of my trailers first to be able to take my ATVs out. So what I'm using is one of my my jump starters. What I'm gonna do first is I'm gonna turn on the cheapy little 3 or 4 inch light, so we can have something to compare to. So there, it's on now. So you guys can see these are fairly bright, not that bad. Farther away, you can see up in the tree line. They're definitely, I would definitely put these for the money, you know, on my truck. I think I originally had a set of these. So they're not bad. They're actually pretty bright. So now we're gonna move on to that light, which is the first one I did the review on. Alright, so now what I have the 4-inch work light with the Phillips chips, the Phillips LEDs. We're gonna go, and it's already on. Just gotta wait for this traffic to pass by. I don't want to light anybody up in front of my street, so this has a more definitely concentrated light. As the beam, as you guys can see, it's a lot more concentrated. I like this light. This light is bright. You guys can see up there, it's a lot brighter up in the tree line. It's definitely a spotlight. Wow, I can definitely see this working out in the trails. These are the ones I want to mount on my truck, on the hood by the windshield. The white is definitely, it's like a bright white. I mean, it almost turns into daylight. You guys can see it right there. You can see the color perfectly on everything. So yeah, this is nice. All right, so now last we're gonna test out the one with the Osram chips and see how that comes out versus this one. This is gonna be hard to beat. This is definitely a nice light. I like the distance. The distance seems like it's fairly far and is very concentrated. Does not disperse. So that's the 4-inch Phillips LED light is definitely a spotlight. Not like this other little cheapie. You guys can see that it's somewhat of a half spotlight, half flood, because you can see everything. All right, finally we have the 4-inch Osram chips, Oslam from Auxbeam. It's wired up, ready to go. We're gonna see what kind of light this gives. Right, see, this is not so much as a focus spotlight like the other one. You can see a lot of light on the surroundings. It's hard on camera to see it, but I can definitely see more. See, like in this area right here, you can see that all that light. It doesn't focus on when the camera is facing that light because it's so bright. It darkens the outside, as you guys can see, but as you guys can see as I move this, there's a lot of light on the outsides. So I mean, it's still good light. You can see that the beam is pretty focused in on a specific area. Not as great as the 4-inch Phillips chips one, but the light reaches up there pretty far too. As far as being an actual spotlight, distance wise and bright wise, I want to say that one probably takes it. The one with the Phillips LEDs. Alright, so that right there gives you guys a pretty good example. On my left is the 4-inch light with the Phillips chips. On the right, it's the Osram chips. You guys can see what I meant about the white being on the left is more like a daylight. The one on the right is more like a little bit more yellowish tint to it. You guys can see from this close already, the one on this one I'm moving has a more concentrated light, like an actual spot on, like a beam, you know. This one, you guys could see the difference right there. I mean, it's definitely brighter on the left. The one on the right with the Osram chips is more of a dispersed light. If you wanted a spot or you wanted some kind of you know, for the trail, I would assume that you'd want this one here. The one on the left, on the right is all over the place, you know. So it depends what you're looking for. It's definitely the best bet on this one right here. Alright guys, so there you have it. If you want a true spotlight, I definitely say hands down the Phillips LEDs definitely took the win. These will be the ones I will mount on my truck. These are neck to neck. I mean, if they lost it, if anything, it was just by the color, I think. If these were the bright intense white like this was, I would have probably chose these because I kind of like the disbursement of light a little bit further out. To me personally, I feel like this would have been a better choice just because you could see a little bit wider area further away than this. But maybe the fact that this is more concentrated, that might be the reason why it's brighter. I'm not sure. But definitely would say that for the competition as a spotlight, you know, hands down, they're both extremely good. This one takes it. As far as a spotlight, this is not. This is good for, you know, maybe throwing a couple of them all around your truck, maybe on your roof rack, and you go out off-roading and you want visibility around your vehicle. This one's probably a good one to have. It's decent spotlight, disperses the light all over the place, but you know, for the price, it's not bad. As far as quality, I would definitely spend a little bit more money. Turn to Auxbeam, purchase these right here. Looks, definitely a 10 out of 10. I love the way they look with the black. I love the way they look. They look rugged. These look cheap. That 4D is insane. I mean, you guys can see how concentrated the light gets versus that one. So I will be mounting these on my truck like I mentioned earlier. Wait for the how to install video on this. Making some modified brackets that are bolt up to the chassis, kind of like under the hood area somewhere. So yeah guys, I'll put a link down below on the description area. where you guys can purchase these. Like I said, these are singles and these are for the pair. So yeah, I hope you guys got some information from this video. This is my first review video, so I hope I didn't screw it up too bad. And hope you like and subscribe. Thank you.